I found protection in my wife's car. What I discovered next destroyed everything. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to find proof of cheating, but there I was, standing in my driveway, holding protection wrapper I found under the passenger seat of my wife's car. We had been married for 5 years, and I always trusted her completely. But lately, things felt off. She was distant, texting late at night, and coming home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. I tried to ignore the feeling in my gut, hoping it was just paranoia. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I decided to check her phone when she was in the shower. What I saw shattered me. Messages between her and another man, flirty, secretive, and full of plans to meet up. I confronted her the next morning, and at first, she denied everything, saying it was just a mistake. But when I showed her the condom, she broke down and admitted to cheating. She said it was a one-time thing, that she regretted it, and that she still loved me. I didn't know what to believe. My world felt like it was crumbling. I didn't know if I could forgive her or if I wanted to. The betrayal cut deep, and I felt lost, confused, and angry all at once. We spent days arguing, crying, and trying to figure out if our marriage could survive this. She promised to go to counseling and cut off all contact with the other man, but the trust was gone. I felt like I was living with a stranger every time she left the room. I wondered if she was hiding more secrets. I couldn't sleep, eat, or focus on anything but the pain. Friends told me to leave, that I deserved better, but I kept holding on to the hope that we could fix things, that maybe love was enough to heal the wounds. We started couples therapy, but progress was slow, and the scars of betrayal were hard to erase. Some days, I felt hopeful. Other days, I wanted to give up entirely. I didn't know if our marriage would survive, but I knew I had to try for the sake of the years we had shared. Since that painful revelation, our lives have been a roller coaster of emotions. The counseling sessions were tough, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths and deep-seated issues we had ignored for years. She opened up about feeling lonely and neglected, how our busy schedules and lack of quality time drove her to seek comfort elsewhere. I admitted my faults too, acknowledging that I had been distant and preoccupied with work, but that didn't erase the betrayal I felt. We tried to rebuild trust slowly, setting boundaries and being transparent with each other. She deleted all contact with the other man and agreed to share her phone and social media accounts. I wanted to believe in her, but every time she received a message or took a call, a knot formed in my stomach. The fear of being hurt again was overwhelming, and I struggled to let go of suspicion. Our intimacy suffered, the emotional distance between us growing wider despite our efforts. I found myself questioning whether love alone was enough to heal such a deep wound. But there were moments of tenderness and hope, small signs that she was committed to making things right. We started spending more time together, going on walks, cooking meals, and talking about our dreams and fears, trying to rediscover the connection that had brought us together. Friends and family had mixed reactions. Some urged me to leave and not waste any more time on a relationship built on lies. Others encouraged me to fight for our marriage, reminding me that everyone makes mistakes and that forgiveness can lead to healing. Their opinions were helpful, but ultimately, the decision was mine. I had to decide if I could move past the betrayal and rebuild a future with her. I also sought individual therapy to process my own feelings, learning to set boundaries and communicate my needs clearly. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, but choosing to let go of resentment. It's been a difficult journey, but I'm slowly finding strength and hope, realizing that healing is possible even after the deepest betrayals. Over time, we began to rebuild our relationship on a new foundation, one rooted in honesty and vulnerability. The process was far from easy, with setbacks and moments of doubt, but also breakthroughs that reminded us why we fell in love. We started creating new memories together, going on trips, sharing hobbies, and having deep conversations about our hopes and fears. We learned to communicate openly about our feelings, even when it was uncomfortable, and to listen without judgment. She continued to show commitment through her actions, being transparent and patient as I worked through my trust issues. I made a conscious effort to be more present and attentive, balancing work and home life better than before. Our intimacy improved as we rebuilt emotional closeness, and we found joy in small, everyday moments that had been overshadowed by pain. We celebrated milestones in our healing journey, acknowledging how far we had come and the work still ahead. Though the affair will always be a part of our story, it no longer defines us. We've learned that forgiveness is a choice we renew each day, and that love can grow stronger through adversity. I'm not naive to think that challenges won't arise again, but I believe we now have the tools and commitment to face them together. Our marriage feels more authentic and resilient, built on a deeper understanding of ourselves and each other. If I could offer advice to anyone facing a similar betrayal, I would say this: healing is possible, but it requires honesty, patience, and a willingness to confront painful truths. Don't rush the process or ignore your feelings. Seek support from trusted friends, family, or professionals, and remember that rebuilding trust takes time. Whether you choose to stay or leave, prioritize your well-being and know that you deserve respect and love. Sharing my story has been part of my healing, and I hope it offers hope to others feeling lost and broken. You're not alone, and even in the darkest moments, there is a path forward. Thank you for listening, and I wish you strength and peace on your own journey.
Story 2. I found out my husband was cheating with his best friend's wife. The fallout was explosive. I never thought my marriage would end like this. For years, I trusted my husband completely, believing we had a strong bond. But things started to feel off about 6 months ago. He was distant, spending more time at work, and always guarded his phone. I brushed off my suspicions, telling myself I was overthinking, until one day I found messages on his phone between him and a woman named Lisa. The messages were flirty and intimate, but what shocked me the most was when I realized Lisa was his best friend's wife. I felt like the floor dropped beneath me. How could he betray me and his best friend at the same time? I confronted him that night, and he didn't deny it. Instead, he tried to justify it, saying our marriage had problems and that he felt lonely, but that didn't make it any easier to swallow. I was furious, heartbroken, and completely blindsided. The woman I thought was my friend was also in on it, and the betrayal cut even deeper. The fallout was immediate and painful. Our social circle fractured, with friends taking sides and gossip spreading like wildfire. I couldn't look at either of them without feeling sick. I moved out temporarily to clear my head. And we started messy negotiations about our future. He begged for forgiveness and promised to end things with Lisa, but trust was shattered beyond repair. I wasn't sure if I could ever believe him again. In the following weeks, I discovered more lies, secret meetings, hidden gifts, and late-night calls. It was like peeling back layers of deception that I never saw coming. I felt isolated and overwhelmed, but also determined not to let this define me. I reached out to a counselor and close friends for support, and slowly began to rebuild my life on my own terms. Since discovering the betrayal, the days have been a whirlwind of emotions. I moved into a small apartment nearby to give myself space and time to think clearly. My husband reached out constantly, begging for forgiveness and promising to cut all ties with Lisa. But I wasn't ready to hear him. The pain of knowing he had lied to me and betrayed not only our marriage, but also his best friend was too fresh. I spent many nights crying myself to sleep, wondering how someone I loved so deeply could hurt me so badly. Our mutual friends were divided. Some tried to mediate and encourage reconciliation, while others sided with me, condemning his actions. The social fallout was brutal. I felt like I was living in a storm of gossip and judgment. But I refused to let it break me. I focused on therapy and rebuilding my self-esteem, learning to trust my instincts again. I also started reconnecting with hobbies and friends I had neglected over the years. My husband did end things with Lisa, but the damage was done. I couldn't shake the image of their secret meetings and whispered conversations. I questioned whether our marriage could survive such a profound breach of trust. We tried couples therapy, but the sessions were fraught with tension and anger. It was clear that forgiveness would be a long, difficult road, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to walk it. Despite everything, I still loved him, and part of me wanted to believe we could heal, but I also knew I had to protect myself and my heart. I set firm boundaries and insisted on transparency, demanding honesty in every aspect of our lives. It was exhausting but necessary. I wanted to rebuild something real, not just pretend everything was okay. The weeks turned into months, and the process of healing was anything but linear. Some days I felt hopeful, seeing genuine effort from my husband as he tried to prove he was trustworthy again. He was transparent with his phone and whereabouts, checking in regularly and making sure I never felt left in the dark. We talked openly about what went wrong, what we both needed, and how to avoid falling into old patterns. Our conversations were raw and honest, sometimes painful, but they were necessary. for us to move forward. Therapy became a lifeline, giving us a safe space to express anger, grief, and regret. The counselor helped us set boundaries and encouraged us to create new routines that fostered trust. We learned that rebuilding trust wasn't about grand gestures, but about small, consistent actions over time. He took accountability for his choices, never making excuses or shifting blame, and I worked on letting go of resentment, reminding myself that forgiveness was a process, not a single moment. There were setbacks, moments when insecurity and suspicion crept in, but we faced them together. He ended all contact with Lisa, and I could see the guilt and remorse in his actions, not just his words. We started to reconnect emotionally, sharing our fears and dreams, and began to find joy in each other's company again. Slowly, the wounds started to heal, replaced by a cautious optimism that maybe, just maybe, we could survive this. We both understood that our marriage would never be the same, but that didn't mean it couldn't be stronger. We focused on transparency, accountability, and mutual support, building a new foundation from the rubble of the old one. The trust we lost was being rebuilt, not as a return to the past, but as a commitment to a more honest, resilient partnership. I realized that love after betrayal is a choice renewed every day, and while the scars remain, they're a reminder of what we overcame together. Thank you for following my story. If you're in a similar place, know that healing is possible, but it takes time, patience, and a willingness to face hard truths. You are not alone, and your future can still hold hope and happiness.